Hello, today we are going to install and run the latest version available of the QNX operating system with graphical user interface. We will start with QNX version 3, then 4, then 6. This way we will see how the operating system has evolved over time, how it has improved. Let's start with QNX version 3. We will need a virtualization software that supports really old operating systems. We're going to use VirtualBox. So first, a virtual machine for QNX version 3. Machine new. We will name this machine QNX 3. This makes it such that VirtualBox can identify the template for the virtual machine that we actually want, which is operating system other and version QNX. No ISO image, it's just a single floppy disk, 1.44 megabyte. No virtual hard disk. Finish, continue. Let's look at the settings. We're going to keep the defaults everywhere. In network, we're going to try with the oldest possible network interface card, which is PCNet Fast2 or Fast3. I don't know. Let's see Fast2 first. And for storage, we need a floppy disk image and a floppy disk drive. So that is at controller, floppy, and then add floppy disk image, add, and QNX demo. Choose. OK. And we just start the virtual machine. So it's booting from the floppy disk. It's asking some questions. Space to continue. F1 for USA. It says that it did not detect the network interface card, so not even the oldest supported by VirtualBox is not supported by QNX 3. I also tested with RTL 8139, doesn't also support that. So we probably cannot use a network interface card inside QNX 3. The demo floppy disk. Space to continue without a network interface card. And now it's going to switch to graphical user interface mode. EULA, accept. And it asks me if I want to switch from 640 by 480 4-bit color to 8-bit color. Let's see this. Test. Accept this setting. Let's resize a bit the virtual machine window such that we do not need to scroll inside the operating system. Says that the network interface card is not supported, so there's no need to set the network interface card IPv4 address, netmask, gateway, etc. No need to run the DHCP client. So we're going to just select cancel. Okay. At the bottom, we have the panel similar to Windows 95, a start menu similar to Windows 95. There's a list of running Windows applications. There's just one. We can minimize it. There's minimize, maximize, close buttons. So very familiar to Windows 95. A title bar, We can resize the window. Double click on the title bar, maximizes, restores the window. So very, very similar physics to the Windows 95. This is probably the spinner. At that time, in 1995, web browsers used to have a toolbar, a beefy one with icons and text below. So this is mimicking that. It says that we cannot connect to the internet because there's no network interface card drivers, but we can use the local HTTP server that's also running from the same floppy disk. Localhost being IP address 127.1. This is the home page. How did we do this? On a single floppy disk. Yeah, so that was the one of the bragging points of the QNX operating system, that inside a extremely small space, which is 1.44 megabytes, which is a normal floppy disk, they could put everything needed for this demo. So a bootloader, a real-time microkernel, a number of user mode drivers or extra parts from the kernel which do not run in kernel mode but in user mode. Then the graphical user interface, which is called Photon Micro GUI. So a windowing system similar to an X server plus a window manager plus a panel, task manager, start menu, etc. And as graphical user interface applications, there's this web browser, which is called Voyager, which supports a subset of HTML 3.2, plus JavaScript animated GIFs. Scrolling does not work with the mouse wheel. There's an embedded web server also, which serves all of these pages. There's a TCP IP stack, a number of network interface card drivers, a number of drivers for the display, monitor, display adapter, PS2 mouse, PS2 keyboard, etc. Various keyboard layouts. So a ton of functionality in just a simple floppy disk. The operating system is a real-time operating system with guarantees related to the time slots that a process will get from the operating system. POSIX compliant operating system. File system, RAM disks, a ton of things. Process ID 1, probably this one, /bin/s-init. Serial port There's also support for modems, for dial-up modems, not only for Ethernet network interface cards. Let's see the list of running processes. So it recognized the entire memory, which is 1 gigabyte. Half of it is used. No IP address because we don't have a network interface card. So this microkernel is probably in kernel mode, and the rest of the drivers, which are normally part of the kernel, are in user mode. So devices, networking, what else? Execute in place file system. I can see a ton of work being put into this demo website that's running on the floppy. Keyboard and mouse probably. Yes, so input, process. Photon window manager, so similar to a window manager in X11, such as, I don't know, TWM or KWin. Lets you resize, move, iconify applications. Also displays the taskbar across the bottom of the screen. What's slib? slib standard shared, what? QNX shared library. Message passing within the standard system library routines. So the POSIX open function is implemented here in slib32, but then that talks natively to the microkernel, uses message passing, etc., to get to the correct place. Ethernet. Split networking protocol. Devices. Character devices. /dev, as we would expect in a POSIX compliant operating system. resmgr. Resource manager, embedded resource manager. I'm not sure what this thing is about. DNS client. Yes. Voyager is the web server. No, Voyager is the web client, the web browser. And web.server is the web server. Voyager web server. Okay, let's look at the JavaScript test. Where is it? Dynamic HTML. Nope. That's in more cool demos, and then for the Voyager web browser, there's JavaScript. Towers of Hanoi. Let's see how this thing works. Yay, success, you won. So there's main menus, there's accelerators, this _G, about dialog boxes, message boxes, 1998. Bookmarks, add HL, which is editable. The rest of the applications, Towers of Hanoi just opens the correct web page inside the web browser. Remote control. Oh. There's some automation technology exported by the web browser, and that can be used to automate things, so do things similar to moving the mouse. You can click around, you can drag probably things, maybe right click. Graphical user interface automation, or maybe or support for accessibility. A file browser, it said that it has /dev, and there's a /etc. The usual minimal files that exist in a minimal POSIX operating system, /etc/hosts, /sc/password. A notepad, simple text editor, file open dialog, search replace, a ton of functionality, maybe not implemented very completely and thoroughly, but again, the idea here is to have as much functionality as possible packed into a really tiny space. There's a root user. /usr. Where are the executables? /xip. So this is the HTTPS server. This is the HTTP client, the web browser. This is probably the notepad. How do you open this thing? So if you double click on a file, it's going to open it with a text editor with note. Executables don't have extensions. netcfg is probably a command line application. .3D graphics. This graphical user interface application for changing the screen resolution, which we saw previously. And the possibility of shutdown, which actually restarts the virtual machine. The DHCP or IPv4 configuration application. The DHCP client. I don't see any terminals such that I can start executables. The file browser doesn't have a main menu, so I don't know how to start, for instance. No, there's no context menu. This is probably the website /usr/httpd. Files with extension HTML. /usr/UCB. What's that? University of California, Berkeley. Okay, now let's install the next version, which is QNX 4, and let's see how the operating system in general has evolved, how its graphical user interface presentation has evolved. Exit, right click, right control. Machine, new, and here we go, QNX 4. Next. No virtual hard disk. And then we're going to do the same treatment with virtual machine settings, storage, controller, floppy, add, and as network interface card. Let's also start with PCNet Fast 3. Normal start. It's a similar presentation until now. Unable to detect a modem. So this is the version of the floppy disk demo. So there used to be two versions of the floppy disk demo. One which uses a dial-up modem, another one which uses Ethernet network interface cards. So let me select the floppy image for network interface card, not for modems. I couldn't find the QNX for floppy disk image for network interface card, so we'll continue testing the version with modems for dial-up. Says spacebar to continue without a modem. Switch into graphical user interface mode, and we already see some changes compared to the previous version QNX 3. The display configuration has changed. Application, which is this one. So it seems to be an incremental change, at least the graphical user interface subsystem and graphical user interface applications. Let's see what we did in here. So we selected this one with 8-bit of color. And then we need to accept. Done. Let's again resize the virtualization software window. Let's see if we can run these things, the two versions side by side. Something like this. So at least the website that's served by the built-in web server has been refreshed. Maybe additional features have been added to the web browser. It used to be HTML 3.2, a subset. And maybe the new features that are supported by the web browser are now being demoed by the built-in website. How do we resize this thing? One year apart, June 16, 98 versus October 27, 99. Okay, so about 1 year of continuous source code changes across the entire stack. The web server, the microkernel, the rest of the parts which go into the kernel normally, but are running in user space, the HTTPS server, etc. The HTTP server. Cool is probably the graphical user interface application. That's a 3D demo. this thing, vector animation. Each time I exit a virtualization software window, I need to recalibrate the PS2 mouse. Remove extensions. What's this? Yeah, extremely similar to the graphical user interface part. Maybe the jump on the non-user visible parts, the kernel and networking stack, the servers, daemons has changed quite a lot, but then the graphical user interface parts are extremely similar. The same theme for the window manager, the same color scheme, the same applications, the same split in between the two demo floppy disks, one for modems for dial-up and another one for network interface cards, Ethernet. Towers of Hanoi is now colorful, so the website did change. This is about it for QNX 3 and 4. Let's go to the QNX version that most people have heard about or seen screenshots from, which is QNX 6.4. Let's shut down these, or maybe we can run them side by side. Okay, so new virtual machine. Let's see the version of QNX. So it's 6.4.1. QNX 6. Can't we allocate more random access memory? We actually need a ISO. Let's look at the network interface card, PCNet Fast 3. Sounds okay. And storage, we will put the disk image. Okay, let's start. I don't remember if this operating system actually had a installer which allowed you to install to a, in our case, virtual hard disk from the virtual machine, or it was just a demo running only in live CD mode from the DVD drive. We will see if we see an... Okay, so there's the possibility to install in a new disk partition. Let's actually do that. So I've deleted the virtual machine and I'm recreating it from scratch, QNX 6. I provide the ISO for the DVD drive. Let's increase the memory to 1 gigabyte. Virtual hard disk 4 gigabytes. Sounds okay. Next. Should be IDE, but we're going to look at the settings right now. So PIX, correct, PS2, mouse, 1 CPU, IDE, virtual hard disk, and the ISO, and network interface card, PCNet Fast3. So let's try. Detected USB. Okay. Says F2 is great for testing on new hardware without writing anything to the hard disk. So that's the live CD option. Let's select F3 and be adventurous. This is the installer. We'll create a QNX partition, create a bootable QNX neutrino image, F1 to continue, enter your license key. Invalid license key. Okay, so it doesn't allow install to a virtual hard disk without providing a still valid QNX 6.4.1 license key. So I provided the license key, says F1 to accept. Please select the disk where you would want to install QNX neutrino /dev/hd0 4 GB. Choose disk F1. So I pressed enter and it took the default selection, which is F1. QNX 4 file systems and power safe file systems, which is the one that I want to select. 179 is the default. Okay, so I'm going to select F1, which is the first option that's provided, type 179, and it's also recommended in 2 places in here. F1. Use all available space. F1. Copying files. QNX software development platform installation. Wish to install to the default location. I don't know. Wish to install the GPL utility. Yes. Okay. The configuration information has been recorded in /etc. Press enter to continue. Please remove the installation media, then press enter to reboot. How do we do that? So it booted from the hard disk without any assistance from the ISO, from the DVD drive. display setup. Let's see what are the options. 32K, what's that? Driver SFG. Okay, what we used previously was the one that's more than 1024 by 1280, so probably this one. Apply. Your display, I want to accept. And this is the login screen, similar to a desktop manager. And as for the other two, QNX versions 3 and 4, also in QNX 6.4.1, the user root is pre-created without any password. And this is the glorious QNX graphical user interface that looks great in screenshots, or at least used to look great in screenshots when it was presented to the public. Very interesting theme. The same, a similar layout to the other QNX operating systems. There's a panel at the bottom, there's a start menu. The options in the start menu are different. In previous versions, there were just let's compare QNX 4 with QNX 6. So the start menu was flat. Now it contains subdirectories. And there's way more software because the demo floppy disks for QNX 3 and 4 were limited to a floppy disk size of 1.44 megabyte. Whereas for QNX 6.4.1 we have a full-blown ISO. The theme of the window manager has changed. The theme being the window decorations. This thing. The toolbars have these lines in here. Maybe they can be moved around. We need to recalibrate the mouse each and every time. File. Yeah, so the theming is different. The main menus look different. The way the shortcuts are presented is different. Let's actually open the web browser in QNX 6. Internet web browser. And this thing looks similar to a previous version of Mozilla Firefox. A constant problem with really old operating systems is that they might not support HTTPS protocol at all in the web browser, or not enough HTTPS encryption algorithms, key HTTPS keys technologies, and hashes, etc. So not enough HTTPS cryptography support to connect to modern HTTPS websites. But at least this proves that at least the network interface card that we are using, which is the AMD Net 3, was detected correctly by the operating system. The correct driver was selected. The DHCP client was started. It ran correctly. It could get a DHCP lease. And then there's a ton of TCP, IP, HTTP, HTTPS stack such that it could display the HTTPS version of google.com and one of the few HTTP sites which remain, which is this one, httpforever.com. But other websites, this version of the web browser could not negotiate a matching HTTPS cryptography suite that matches the ones which are supported by the HTTPS server. Firefox version 2. The year is 2009. So this says that the QNX operating system version 6.4.1, although it's microkernel, although it's RTS real-time, it still has a good enough POSIX interface such that Mozilla Firefox could be ported to the operating system. How complete was this port? Does it support just-in-time JIT compilation of the within the JavaScript engine or not? Maybe some parts of the web browser needed to be commented out. Maybe there's a huge amount of if-defs that needed to be applied to the source code. But still, we can see that almost everything works in Firefox. Zul and the JavaScript UI parts and the theming and whatnot, toolbars. Get themes. This is the message that you get when it cannot navigate to either parts of the website or to the entire website. Middle click works, so clicking on the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel works on my mouse. So a very, very good impression. The software development kit was installed with graphical user interface applications for creating GUIs, for instance, or a forms editor. Ton of books and developer documentation. Fortunately, this documentation and the SDK and other apps are available in offline format, so they have been installed on the virtual hard disk of this virtual machine. No need to go to the internet to see relevant information, because since the year 2008, many of the web pages probably have been moved, have been shuffled around, have been, I don't know, maybe deleted. And then also the very old version of the web browser cannot connect to the current version of the HTTPS servers. So the fact that so much information is available from the hard disk is a plus. Application Builder PHAB or Photon, the graphical user interface stack on the operating system. I'm not sure what's the story for X11 application support. I'm going to guess that there's such a thing. Solitaire. How do we play Solitaire? Like this. Ace, Jack, Queen. 3, 4. Yeah, it's a Solitaire, all right. Each time you cannot click on a button, you need to do your mouse settings, and you do that by moving to a corner of the virtualization software window. Like this. Are you sure you want to quit? The escape button, does it work correctly? Yes, it does. It cancels the modal dialog. If I press space, it selects the default button, which is no, which is the one underlined with orange. It's not so visible what the currently selected button. So it's no now and yes now. It, I know the bevel doesn't change, the coloring, nothing, just the underline. So the accelerator, which is for the N, changes from an accelerator to a underline, which is orange. Yes, space. Okay. CJK input an important offering. This is, I don't know what, probably a graphical user interface connection. I'm going to get something similar to RDP or to VNC. And this is probably the modem dial-up dialer, which was also available in the QNX 3 and 4 demo floppy disks, but the modem version. And utilities, let's look at the text editor. Where did I just land? So this was named note without any extension. So editor help went who knows where. To the release notes, debug info. This what's new in debugging. Yeah, so the help system is something similar to, I know, KDE, Plasma's K-Help Center, in the sense that once you get to the help of an application which is provided by the operating system, then from the left-hand side tree view, you could navigate the help and the product manuals for other applications which are provided by the operating system. You start by looking at the help of Node, and then you get to the help of the web browser or something. Get to the installation guide. So the entire help offering can be browsed using the application that's the help viewer. Okay, so this is the equivalent of the Note application, which is this one, Notepad. Did not have a help about previously, but now it does have. And it allowed you to change the fonts. File search options. Line column buffer. I'm not sure if it's exactly the same application. But since they could run the entire Mozilla Firefox, then maybe it was possible to port a bigger Node text editor application from other operating systems. Behavior changes, no. Terminal, at long last we have a terminal, so we can play around with the POSIX Unix side of the operating system, which kind of mandates that you have a minimal Unix userland, so a list of command line executables available, starting with the shell, which is probably sh, and then other common applications like who am I, set uname minus a, free, df, mount. So type QNX 6 on the slash, which is the root directory of the file system. So QNX 6.4.1 had the prospect of being another POSIX operating system that allows enthusiasts to create applications for it, to be used as an alternative to the classic open source operating systems such as Linux, FreeBSD, OpenBSD, NetBSD. It was also at a time where Sun Microsystems made Solaris operating system available for x86 as Open Solaris, as a completely open source operating system. There were people that tried QNX 6, tried to daily drive it, to run it as their main operating system, with some people not using the operating system for more than just using the web browser. Maybe they had everything they needed, because as you see in here, it had Mozilla Firefox, which was the current version of the web browser at that time, 2008, Mozilla Firefox version 2. If that worked correctly, and if it supported your network interface card, could connect to the internet, had a DHCP client, and then it also supported the resolution of your monitor, then yeah, it could be your daily driver operating system. But then this did not continue much. QNX, BlackBerry, the owners of the operating system, were not that interested into turning QNX into an operating system that's great for people which want to contribute and to port software to. But still, people were allured and really liked, at least again, the screenshots, the fact that it provided such a beautiful system monitor, this right-hand side toolbar, the icons of the operating system, the widget theming. Maybe some saw it as an operating system that would be increasingly open source and would support older hardware a bit better than the current, at that time, 2008 Linux operating systems. Maybe it required less random access memory to navigate the internet. Maybe, who knows. Instead, we only have access to really old versions of the QNX operating system, and then versions after 6.4. I'm not sure if they even offered a graphical user interface, this Photon GUI by default, or in the operating system was provided as ISO files that everybody could at least run in live CD mode. It's now behind a paywall. You need an account, an online account with the manufacturer of the operating system to just get to the current version of the operating system. And again, I'm not even sure if among the artifacts that you can download for the current version of the QNX operating system, there's an ISO that's made for x86-64 that has a graphical user interface, has ported a recent enough web browser such that you can connect to most HTTPS websites, etc. I'm not sure that this much investment, developer time was invested into keeping the QNX operating system usable by enthusiasts which want a really simple graphical user interface desktop operating system, but with an up-to-date HTTPS web browser. Let's recalibrate the mouse one more time. So this is the start menu from what I see. There's internet with 3 things, games with 5, and utilities with a lot. And then there's configure. Users and groups. First. Okay, and you could create users. A ton of the things that you know from a Linux operating system are just available here, and maybe with a simpler graphical user interface on top of. Sounds really familiar to a Linux, a GNU Linux user. E8f menu. Title desktop menu. What's that? This thing, desktop menu. So if you right click on the desktop, you get a desktop menu. Terminal, web browser, help, configure, and shut down. Okay, what else do we have? So there's ls minus l, there's ls without an l. ls minus a shows hidden files. ls shows hidden files by default, or files starting with a dot. There's POSIX style, Unix style, chmod bits, the RWX, 3 times RWX. There's users, there's groups. Again, very, very similar what we see in here. Slash home doesn't have content. The user root has the expected home directory, which is slash root. pwd works correctly. Which sh says slash bin slash sh. We cannot easily find out which type of Unix-like shell is this sh1. Tab does not work. EGL gears, wow. So EGL meaning EGL, the subset of the OpenGL that's meant for embedded usage, mobile phones, etc. There's an SSH client, OpenSSL for HTTPS and TLS. Compression, applications, zip, BZ2, gzip, GNU awk, ping. IPv6, wow. FTP client, trace route, daemons NTP, daemon. So servers for the SNMP, the Simple Network Management Protocol, server for Telnet, server for SSH. Just wow, how many things are provided such that I can feel at home in this operating system. If I can connect to it via SSH, if it has a POSIX shell, if I can connect to it in graphical user interface mode, preferably with the RDP remote desktop protocol or VNC. If not, there's this software offering, this connect, remote Photon connect. So Photon again is saying that this is a graphical user interface remote connection protocol. That's a thing /dev/photon. So maybe this file /dev/photon is similar to other other operating systems that try to have the graphical user interface server and window manager, etc. be as Unixy as possible by using files in the ideology that everything is a file, including the buttons on Windows, including the windows on the desktop, including the desktops, including the graphical user interface session of the current user, etc. Worldview. What is worldview? Wow, it even has virtual desktops. So this is it. This is the evolution of the QNX operating systems, the versions of the QNX operating system that were offered to end users and had graphical user interface. So the demo floppy disks for QNX 3 and 4, and then the ISO, the final version of the ISO for QNX 6, which is QNX 6.4.1. Thank you.